Upsets could be on the horizon in Week 5. Some, the casuals, would call this a sort of sleepy weekend. That just means it's a dangerous weekend. Look at Michigan. Michigan has not played anyone. Michigan's going on the road. They're facing Nebraska. Nebraska, all of a sudden, kind of re-jump-started themselves when they benched Jeff Sims. And you got a new quarterback in there, and they're kind of rejuvenated, but then Michigan comes into town, and we'll just see. Michigan's scores are wild. Every score has been the same. They've scored 30, 35, 31, 31. Their opposition has scored 3, 7, 6, 7. Yeah, it's just like razor-sharp efficiency. So we could have a game that looks like that again this weekend, or it could be Michigan has some flaws that haven't been exposed yet. Maybe the road shakes them a little bit. But I know, like, even though we're talking upset potential here, I also know there's a world where Michigan's a team just ready to turn it on, and they know they haven't had to yet. And as soon as they do, I mean, they can gear up. Like everyone's wondering, if Michigan plays like they do, could Nebraska play up to that level? Maybe Michigan plays at a level higher than they played before. So I'm going to pay attention to it. We did take Nebraska and the points. I'm going to put a 7.25 on the upset alert meter for this one. Very exact. We go by the quarter point around here now. Fewest points per game allowed by an FBS team this year, by the way, Michigan, 5.8. That's pretty good even on the metric system. Next up, oh my goodness, next up, Clemson goes to Syracuse. Syracuse upset Michigan one time in the Carrier Dome, and forevermore people will say, be careful going to the Carrier Dome. So the line on this game is 6.5. Clemson favored. They just came off a gut-wrenching overtime loss to Florida State. Some would say their season's goals went up in smoke, and that just means you have to redefine your goals. That's so easy for me to say. All I have to do is sit behind a microphone. They actually have to do it in person. This is a Super Bowl for Syracuse, obviously. Syracuse is undefeated. Clemson's a 2-loss team. Oh, by the way, it's a good spot in the show to stop for a second and ask, are you what your record says you are? Are you? No, everyone quotes Bill Parcells, forgetting he said it about pro football. You are not what your record says you are exclusively in college. Here's the evidence. A 2-loss team is favored by a touchdown in an undefeated team's building. They play in the same conference. So you're not always what your record says you are. That doesn't mean Syracuse can't win this game, though. I'm worried about it. For Clemson, I'm worried about it. So you're going to find out what kind of heart and what kind of resolve and competitive character they've got in that building. I'm going to put an 8 on this one, only because it's unfamiliar territory. When have we ever seen Clemson in this spot? If Bama loses another game, the following week, I'll ask the same thing about them. How are they going to look? It's foreign territory. We don't know. So it's an 8 for me on the upset alert meter. Notre Dame's going to Duke. Notre Dame, I saw in person, have a game snatched from them by Ohio State last week. I'm not saying they gave it away, because you can't give a game away if the other team doesn't take it. This line's 5.5, guys. Notre Dame is going to Duke, and it's not being talked about nationally, and it's because it's Duke. And it doesn't matter that Duke already beat Clemson. People will not respect Duke football because of what I just said. It's Duke football. So here's what I did. To help you, I prepared a helpful mental exercise. I had producer Jesse look at the AP poll because I don't believe in it. Jesse told me that the teams sort of around where Duke is in the AP poll are North Carolina and Miami. So I want you to pretend that Notre Dame's going to North Carolina Saturday, or Notre Dame's going to Miami Saturday. All of a sudden, voila, the nation takes the game a lot more seriously. That's how you should be looking at this game. And I've got external dynamic questions about Notre Dame as well. Now, their season's not up in smoke, but they just got beat by Ohio State. They got to get right back up. They got back-to-back road games against Duke, Louisville before they come home for USC. There is no time to lick your wounds here. And they got to go on the road, and I'll tell you what they've got to do. Don't turn the ball over a whole bunch in plus territory. That'd be factor number one. Factor number two is they got to take Sam Hartman. If he is the strength and soul of that offense, and they got to ride him. Because Riley Leonard can get it done for Duke. They got to ride Sam Hartman. You don't need to, in other words, you don't need to put the game in doubt and play another game in the teens, low 20s. You need to score. Score points. That's such advanced analytics right there. Score points to win football games. But I've got a 9 on this one. because Duke's just a flat-out good team. It's not like Notre Dame has to mess around a whole lot and give a game away. Duke could just flat-out win the game. They're that good. So, yeah, there's a 9 on the upset alert meter. This is one of the premier games of Saturday. I don't care who tells you otherwise. I'm going to be in Auburn. We've already done the game breakdown. It's on the YouTube channel if you want to find it individually. Georgia's a 14.5-point favorite at Auburn. I've been at this game many a time. Very heated. Auburn has no shot when they go to Georgia. Auburn has not a great shot in this one, but the reason I'm interested in it, the reason that I have focused on it and the reason I'm going to it is because Georgia's not as good at the moment as most of the country thinks they are. They're a very good team, and it's a year to be down a little bit because there may not be an elite team out there. I think internally Georgia knows what I'm talking about. Like Georgia knows whatever their standard is, they're not quite there. They don't quite have that depth. They don't quite have that top-end skill in their starting 22. That's a first-world Georgia problem because they still way outclass Auburn, and they way outclass most of college football. But I say all that to ask this. What about Georgia could get exposed this weekend? And if the answer's nothing, then the answer's nothing. Like I'm speaking very hypothetically here. You're going on the road for the first time. Auburn looked so horrible offensively last week that I think it spurs change inside the offensive mechanisms of this program. Maybe at quarterback, maybe at play calling. I talked about that the other day. It's not a guarantee. When you throw a bunch of new stuff against a wall, sometimes nothing sticks. Sometimes 1 or 2 things, maybe 3 things stick, and maybe they're a difference in a football game. So in college football, I always love the spot, and we got several of them this weekend. I love the spot where a team goes on the road and loses and then comes home in wounded animal mode. Colorado's in that situation. Ole Miss is in that situation. Auburn is in that situation. And it wouldn't surprise me if all 3 of them found a way to make their games dogfights, respectively, in the second half this weekend. And so with this one, since I'm going to be there, I'm going to put a 6.75 on the upset alert meter. And maybe Robbie Ashford, maybe he has his moment this weekend. Maybe Hugh Freeze just draws some stuff up in the dirt over there, and maybe they just strike gold a couple of times. And also, Auburn's defense is going to play at a high enough level, along with that home crowd, to keep you in the football game. It would surprise me if Georgia was able to run away and hide from them, because I don't think Georgia offensively is that team right now. So let's keep an eye. Right team is favored, but let's keep an eye on this one. Last one, we hadn't talked about this game all week. Bama's going to Mississippi State. Bama's favored by 14.5. I like Alabama a lot in this one. We're not taking them as a Ramen Noodle Express best bet. I think they're going to win and cover over there. I've only got a 4 on the upset alert meter here. Like I don't think Mississippi State defensively, although they're very seasoned and experienced and elderly, if you want to use that term in college, I don't think they're particularly good. And so, Texas kind of fooled people when they beat Alabama, and it's almost like folks don't realize Texas is an extremely good team. Mississippi State is not. And so I think Alabama found themselves in the second half against the other team from the Magnolia State last week at home. I think they're going to go on the road and do some work here. And then it's on to Texas A&M the following week. So I'm not as concerned about that one. I actually think Bama's going to cover. The other ones I have mild to moderate to severe concern about, and that's the upset alert meter.